evening. Thank you so much for coming along this evening to the online book launch ceremony of my book, Too Kind, a Survival Guide for Sensitive Souls. So I'm really, really excited. The book is actually coming out on Monday, the 20th of May, and I will tell you all about how to get your hands on your copy a bit later. So Leanne is very kindly going to show us the next screen. I'll just go through the agenda so that you know what's going to happen today. So in terms of housekeeping, it's just a case of if you have any questions or comments, you can put them in the chat. And then we're going to go into the interview. So Emma Louise is going to ask questions and I'll be answering them for you. And maybe about 8:30, I will tell you about a very exciting book club that I'm going to be starting, which is to do with the book. And then I will tell you about how to buy your copy. And then we can go to any questions and then we'll be finished at 9. So I hope that's all okay. If you need to leave at any time, because I know people have families and, it's your Thursday evening, you're giving up time to be here. If you need to leave at any time, please don't worry. This is being recorded and you will get the link to watch the rest of it later if you wish to watch it again or catch up. So I'm going to hand over to Emma Louise Follows now. Leanne, if you could show us the next slide, please. You can see what Emma Louise does, and then she's going to ask me some questions.
Hi, everyone. Such a pleasure to be here. So my name, as Zeenat has said, is Emma Louise Follows. I'm a lawyer, I'm a medical herbalist. I'm also a really good friend of Zeenat's, and we're like business besties as well. Yeah. So it's a real pleasure to host this event, this online ceremony for Zeenat's first book. I was also an early reader of this book. And as someone who does struggle with being a sensitive soul and often at times overgiving, I've really got a lot out of it. And I know it's going to help so many people and also people's relationships too. I actually think of Zeenat as a kind of magician for the mind, because her work, which I've experienced personally, is really transformative. So without further ado, I'll jump into the interview questions, because there's lots that I want to find out about this book and just about this subject generally. So yeah, if you're ready, Zeenat, I'll ask you some questions. Fantastic. So firstly, I wanted to start by asking you, what inspired you to write this book?
So I found that lots of my clients who were coming to me were coming with, on the surface, different problems and different issues that they wanted to work on. But as soon as we delved a little deeper, we were finding that they were having quite a lot of the similar problems that I address in the book. And it's things like just being, as the title says, too kind, being so kind to other people and putting other people before themselves. Not once, not twice, but habitually. And consequently, they ended up not taking care of their own needs and their own desires and wishes. And they were sort of slipping down their own priority list, their partners or their work or their boss or whoever else's needs were much higher than their own. And I think that left them feeling quite depleted of energy. And just sort of exhausted from constantly trying to please everyone else and then just not having their own cup filled. So I was finding that lots of my clients were coming with different issues, but having the same experience. And I think, like attracts like. So if you are a kind, sensitive person, you tend to attract those sorts of people. And I think I'm like that. And I think that's why those people trusted me to work with them on their journey. So I think it was just something that kept coming up.
Oh, absolutely. That's brilliant. I think there's such a need for this. And I can definitely sort of see what you mean in terms of you tend to attract people like this because you are like this. So you're the best person to write this book because you're kind of speaking from personal experience as well as professionally.
Definitely.
Something I definitely wanted to ask you was how, and we haven't spoken about this much actually, how did you actually write this book? Because I know how busy you are. You've got a full coaching practice, you're a mum, you're a wife, you're busy. You've got a big social life as well.
Yeah.
So I just wondered, like, how did you actually come to, write the book?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
So I actually have, like many people, I've often thought, oh, I'd love to write a book one day. I really hope I get to write a book one day. And I'm a real big reader and I love books and love libraries and bookshops and all that sort of thing. And it was a sort of long held dream. And the opportunity came up because I worked with a coach, and actually I went to her for help with like health. And right at the end of our coaching time, she said, if you could do anything, if there's anything you'd put out there, what would it be? And I said, oh, I can't even say it. And it was writing a book. And she said, well, let's see what happens. And then I met someone who was a book coach, and she made it sound possible. And to anybody who's coming to the live event in London, you'll get to meet her. And she just made it sound very tangible and realistic. And because she had a particular program, I thought I must try this. This is my opportunity. So basically, the timings, what I did is I actually wrote the book over the summer holidays last year when my son was off school. So it meant that I didn't have the school run and I didn't have all the mum duties in the morning. And I would actually sit down between 6 and 8 in the morning, and that's when I did the bulk of my writing. So that's how I kind of fitted it in. And I just did that a few times a week, and I stuck to quite a strict program, and I got the bulk of it done over the summer holidays.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, that really says a lot for your productivity. Yeah, and really encouraging for anyone else, I think, who's got, sort of a dream, like a vision that seems a little bit pie in the sky, but, you really sort of took that dream and then put it into practice. Also, I remember you saying something to me, and I can't remember the exact words, but you said that when you met with your book coach, she said something to you that really kind of sealed the deal and gave you
Yeah.
goosebumps. Could you tell us what that was?
Yes. So some of the people who are here were actually in that meeting, and this lady was giving a workshop, and there were, she said lots of amazing, inspiring things. And then she said, when you write a book, it's a sacred part of you you're putting out into the world. And as she said it, I had goosebumps going up and down my arms. And I just thought, that's it. I was sold at that point. I just thought, however this has to happen, I need to do this, because it really resonated very, very deeply. And I'm a real empath, so I sort of feel everything before I think it. Everything kind of goes through the feeling system first, and then I can think about it, And so that I knew in my gut that was what I needed to do.
Yeah, and I think the kind of people who will read this book and who this book is aimed at will definitely understand that, like being sensitive and sort of probably getting those signals, that kind of full body yes from your body. So
Definitely.
yeah, that's amazing. So I wanted to also ask you, what would you say the book's key messages are? I obviously have read it, but I'd love to hear what you would say the key messages
Yeah.
are.
I would say the key messages are that you can be happy too. That's the key message. If you're a person who spends all of their time taking care of other people, trying to make them comfortable, trying to make things easy for other people, trying to be helpful, going out of your way to, if you see someone in distress, your first instinct is to help. And, you almost drop everything else in order to help that person, whether it's a stranger in the street, whether it's, an animal, um, if you are that way, and I certainly resonate with that, then it's saying that you can also look after yourself. You can also be kind to yourself. You can also honor your wishes. And that's not being selfish, because a lot of people who are like that, who are very kind, they sometimes think, oh, if I change, then I'm becoming hard, or I'm changing from who I am, and that's my natural state. And I don't want to be selfish, and I don't want to put myself first, because they think it doesn't sort of sit right with them. But some of these things are learned, and some of these things are habitual, so they become a habit. But I think, like anything, you know, we are learning machines. We're designed to learn. Our brains are processing machines created to learn, and we can learn new habits. And you can be kind to yourself and still be kind to other people.
I love that. Do you know, I was going to wait to the end to ask you to read an extract, but there's an extract from the book, the one I was actually thinking about, really touches on this point. So would you read it now, and then I'll
Yeah,
continue with the questions
sure.
after then?
Which
So,
one was it?
yeah, so it's on page 128, and
Okay.
the title of the paragraph is Change Can Help Others Too. And I
Oh,
think
yes.
for anyone who is worrying that, you know, sort of following this advice to, you know, sort of to give yourself a bit more priority in your life, you know, might come across as selfish, because I think that would be one of the people's main worries, the sort of people who are drawn to this work. I think this paragraph really addresses that. So yeah,
Okay.
if you're happy to read from your book.
Yeah, brilliant. So this is from chapter 9, and it says, change can help others too. So if you are truly unhappy, by changing things, you're helping yourself and the other people in your life in the long run. It may not seem like it at the time, but by listening to your higher self and really tapping into your gut feeling, you can hear your inner voice. It might be whispering very quietly, hoping to be heard, or it may already be shouting at you. You know what you want. You know what you really want deep down. It's just that there are difficult choices and decisions to be made along the way that may have consequences for other people and other parts of your life. Regardless, even if you know what you really want, it doesn't make any difference until you pay real attention to it and take action. And those actions will most likely have knock-on effects for years to come. The words and tone of voice you use, the way you conduct yourself, will be part of your collective journey. Think about how you want to be perceived, or your actions will be received. This will help you to create a plan for moving forward and ensure that you're prepared so that you can make necessary changes in the kindest way possible for all concerned.
Lovely. Thanks for that, Zeenat.
That's
Got
okay.
goosebumps as you were reading that out. Yeah, and on that subject as well, you mentioned that, you know, sort of something you're really trying to do with this book is to sort of have people really keep the focus on their ideal life and their vision, because it's so easy to get distracted by what other people want and other people's needs. And you even had like a cluttered dinner table example, didn't you, about how if something's kind of niggling you in your environment, you know, like that's important. Can you talk a bit about that as well, just to
Can
expand?
you just ask me that again? Because you
Yeah.
said dinner table, and I started thinking about dinner. Sorry. You know me too well. That does sound like me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Distracted.
Just,
Yeah.
yeah, say that
So
again. Sorry.
yeah. So you had an example. I think it was one of your clients, and they really like it was important to them to have like a clutter-free
Oh,
environment. And for
yes.
example,
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
dinner table,
Yeah.
to be clear.
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
Yeah. So are you talking about when they, you know, for someone to be able to make everything how they want it to be? Is that what you mean? Like having the
Yes.
ideal life? Okay.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
a client that I've been working with recently was saying that, you know, things have become quite difficult because there's been several issues that have occurred, and you know, family circumstances and things that have happened. And one of the things that we said is, you know, when you're trying to make your life better, and that's usually when somebody comes and asks to have therapy, they're trying to make changes and trying to improve their life so that their experience of life every day is better. And we decided that if there was one thing she could do, what would be the one thing that she could do which would make her life a bit easier? And she said, you know what, I've had this pile of papers on my dinner table for quite a long time, and they just, you know, the first few days it was a bit annoying that they were there, and then after a while I just got used to them being there. And then, you know, people walk past and put something else there, and then you put in, the pile gets bigger, you know. And I said, I wonder if there was somewhere else that they could be, so they're not, you know, right in front of you all the time. So she found another space in her home, which was, you know, a better fit for those things. And she said, even just by clearing one space, that made her feel, when she sat down to eat or have her breakfast or her dinner, it made her feel a bit more in control, So, sometimes people feel overwhelmed by the number of things they have to change. And it's about starting with something small. Something small can make a big difference.
Yeah, I really love that, because it can feel overwhelming if you feel like, oh, I've got to change my whole personality type. But just that example shows, sort of how effective and how like powerful just a little change can be. And every time you see that table or whatever it is in your life, that then reminds you, doesn't it? And sort of gives you momentum to kind of carry on in that direction.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. Right. So I also wanted to ask, because I imagine that, again, a lot of our audience are probably here because they can relate to this subject matter, sort of being sensitive souls and, maybe being a little bit too kind. I just wondered if you had any kind of action steps, that we could take away with us to actually implement, sort of into our lives, from today that would help with this.
I will, but I was just going to say something else, which is another thing I noticed just while we're talking about being too kind. A lot of the people I was working with, they had underlying chronic health issues, and it's almost like by giving so much for such a long period of time and not prioritizing themselves, it was almost they were kind of not taking care of themselves even on a cellular level. It's like their body was rebelling. And again, that's something I've experienced myself as well. And once I started to really honor myself and my desires and my wishes, the chronic illness symptoms abated, they got better. Obviously that's medicine, lifestyle, lots of different things. But I think the mindset is really important. So that I just wanted to mention that's something people might recognize in themselves. So some of the key takeaways, things they can take away with them. So one of the things I think is really important is actually letting go. So if there's something that's been holding you back, something that's been, something you're really upset about, often people who are very kind, they don't shout and scream often. They won't, make a big song and dance over it. They'll just kind of they'll let it die down, but they don't necessarily let it go. And the reason I say this is because often I talk to people about forgiveness, and they might say, well, I'm not ready to forgive that person or that workplace or whatever, the system, whatever it is, because I don't want to let them off the hook, or I don't want them to get away with it. There's a sense that by still holding on to something and holding on to a grudge or being angry with somebody, you're somehow making that very serious problem. You're not just letting them get away with it, But I really think that when you forgive, you're allowing yourself to be free. And there's just something I wanted to read just on that point, because I think this is really important. My other post-it notes, if you bear with me a second. I've got two books here, so my other post-it note. So this one is about forgiveness. Forgiveness is about setting yourself free. By choosing to heal your feelings about the past, you are actively trying to reduce the potency of the pain and let your feelings go. You have agency. That would be my other key takeaway. You have agency. You are in control of the situation in the present because you can choose what to do with the knowledge you have. It's time to stop blaming yourself for the mistakes you have made and make peace with the positive intention you had at the time. What were the reasons for your choices back then? If you look back and examine those, you can understand the motivation for your behavior in that space and time, even though you might not be happy with those choices now. Forgiveness is about setting yourself free. So, we often look back at things and say, oh, that wasn't right. Or, people sort of hold on to grudges about other people and, oh, they shouldn't have done this and that. But if you think back to the age you were at the time, the experience you had at the time, you were doing the best you could with what you knew at the time. you know more now because you've been alive longer and hopefully you've learned more things. So that would be one of them. And the other one is that you have agency. You know, if you are here, able to read, able to understand, able to access the internet and have these conversations, then you are in a very strong position. And it means you most likely have control over certain things in your life and can make decisions for yourself. So that's what I mean when I say you have agency. You can choose to change things or you can choose to keep them the same.
Oh yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking as I was reading the book, what tends to go hand in hand with people who, you know, kind of come across as too kind is there's often like a bit of passive aggression there. And I guess it's because of that kind of, you know, sort of pent up anger, really, isn't it? That they don't feel, you know, that we don't feel that we can express. So that idea of, you know, sort of actually practicing forgiveness to let ourselves be free, you know, sort of not even for the other person, but just for our own freedom.
Absolutely.
Is absolutely, yeah, transformative. And I've experienced that in my own life. And also claiming your agency as well, which kind of is something that, you know, sort of people who do tend towards this sort of personality type is also, yeah, like really kind of needed, I think, you know, sort of just, you know, sort of not being too passive and claiming that agency. Yeah,
Definitely.
really, yeah, really, really really good stuff, Zeenat. There was an exercise, in fact, that I've experienced you taking people through before, and I know you describe it as your triangle exercise, which also might be helpful, like as a sort of practical step, if you wanted to maybe share, if you wanted to share about that.
Yeah. So when I'm working with somebody, we look at what they would like to create in their life. And usually they've come with a particular problem. And often it's the surface level problem. So what they will talk to me about are the symptoms. You know, I'm having outbursts of anger, or I'm feeling very frustrated, or I'm, you know, I can't sleep, or I'm eating or too much or not enough or not sleeping enough or something like that. But in a way, those are the symptoms of a deeper problem. So some people can identify the deeper problem and they'll say, and I think it's because, you know, I've got this and that pain or anger or trauma or, you know, something I'm holding on to that I haven't resolved. But for some people, they will just talk about the symptoms in the first, you know, initial conversation. And then once we get together and we start our work together, I will delve in much deeper to find out what some of those underlying causes are. And I always say I sort of work from the bottom up and top down. So it's almost like working from the roots and also working on the symptoms. And then together you kind of come together like that, if you like. And I usually ask people to imagine a triangle. So just imagine you've got the base at the bottom, which is the widest, and then you've got the pinnacle at the top. And we sort of work on all these different levels, if you like, of what they want instead. So of course we talk about the problem and where they are, but we also spend a lot of time talking about where they want to be. And that's the basis for the hypnosis. That's where most of the energy goes into the hypnosis part of what I do. So a lot of it's conversational, but a lot of it is subliminal under the level of conscious awareness. And that's through recordings that I make for the clients. And sometimes we do the hypnosis in the sessions, but we usually start with the environment. So let's say somebody said, you know, I'm not very happy in my job, let's say, or in my career. I'm not happy with my career. I feel that it's not really aligned with me. I just fell into it. I want to do something else. I want to do something more creative, let's say. So to start off within their environment, it might be as simple as, you know, tidying up their desk and getting a pot plant, you know, just making the place a bit more pleasant because they don't value it and they don't enjoy it. They haven't kept it tidy and clean. So we just start with the environment, or the environment could actually be where they live in their body. So how they feel in their body. So they might be feeling tense every time they go to their desk, but when they feel better, they'll be feeling relaxed in their body, for example. Or it could be the actual workplace, that environment, or it could be their mind, that they feel calm and relaxed or excited in their mind. Then we would work on the behaviors. So what they'd be doing in their new creative place when they're working and they're feeling creative, they can express themselves. They can show their excitement, for example. The next level is their capabilities. So when they're happier in their body, feeling excited, using their creativity, what are their capabilities? Oh, now they're like learning new skills because they're doing a course or they're practicing something or honing their craft. And then the next one is values. So what about that is important to them? So maybe for them, it's important to use that part of them that's been locked up for so long, that hasn't been allowed to share itself. That's important to them. Or in their values, it's really important to give, to create and share that with other people. The next one is their identity. So when they are that person who's being creative, using their skills, using their values, and doing what they really love, who are they? They're free, they're excited, they're expansive, they're open, So you kind of go up the triangle and right to the point where you get to the identity. But there's actually another triangle which resonates for some people, not for everybody, but this triangle goes up that way. And that triangle is about your mission, your vision, and your purpose. So when you're, what's your legacy going to be when everything's said and done? What are you going to leave behind? What will be your lasting gift to the world? Or, who do you connect with that's bigger than us? Whether that's God or humanity or spirit or whatever it is. So we work on that triangle kind of going up. So it goes from I can't sleep, I'm feeling really not very confident, to a really something much bigger than them, and that's how we kind of go up the levels. And we keep on coming back to them at different times in the sessions. And I find the clients really connect with it.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. I've seen you go to sort of take people through the exercise, and it's really transformative. I also really liked what you said about the connection between, sort of being overgiving and health as well. And, that's my sort of area, sort of working with people with their health. And I don't think I've ever seen a client who hasn't also had like a lot of aspects of this personality type, particularly with autoimmune illness. And then I know there's been a lot of research done on it, and there really is like, a clear link. So I myself will be buying lots of copies of this book for my clients.
Brilliant.
But yeah, and that brings me on to my final question, which is how can we all get our hands on a copy or several copies?
Yeah, fantastic. So I'm actually going to ask, thank you so much, Emma Louise. I'm going to actually ask Leanne to show the PowerPoint again, because I will talk about how to get the book, but I think there might be something before it, which is the book club. So yes, here's the book club. Thank you so much, Emma Louise. So what I'm proposing, and this is a brilliant idea that Emma Louise had actually, is that I'm going to show you the book. That's the book there. And it's basically, I'm proposing that we have a monthly membership club. And there's 12 chapters in the book. So it will be a case of, read chapter 1. You can read the whole book. That's absolutely fine if you're enjoying it. But it's quite an easy, it's not an easy read. It's a thin book. And the reason it's a thin book is because when somebody needs help, they don't want a great big tome because that would put them off. So I made it quite brief on purpose so that people could, get what they needed and go and help themselves, as quickly as possible. So the idea is that you read the chapter, and then we get together during the month on Zoom, and then we go through the exercises together, and I can give input and talk more about the content, and people can relate it to their own lives. So it'll be a Zoom like this, but we'll all be able to speak to each other and see each other. So that's what I'm going to be starting in June. And if you are interested in buying the book and you let me know that you've bought the book, you can get 3 months of that club for free. Okay, so Leanne is just putting the link into the chat, and I'm just going to talk to you about buying your copy. So the pre-order, so not everybody is a friend of Amazon. I'm very aware of that. I know it's really, really convenient, but I'm going to have my book on Amazon. Also, it will be sold at Waterstones, and you'll also be able to buy it from my website if you wanted a signed copy. Some of you are coming to the live book launch, so you will receive a signed copy when you come to the live book launch in London, but many of you don't live in London or aren't able to get there. So if you wanted a signed copy, I will share that with you how to buy it from my website. I haven't actually got my hands on the books yet. I'm waiting for a delivery. I'm crossing all my fingers for tomorrow. So I just got an email saying it should be arriving tomorrow. So hopefully after that, I'll be able to post it out to you. Now, if you buy it on Kindle, it's available on pre-order. So that's for someone who either has a Kindle or likes reading online. You don't need to have a Kindle to read it online. It can be sent to you as an ebook. So you don't have to have the actual device, but you can read it on your computer or your phone if that's what you prefer. And that is open for pre-order on Amazon. If you want the paperback copy, it's actually available on Amazon now. Alternatively, if you were to buy it on the 20th of May, which is not Monday, but the following Monday, that's the day the book actually launches. What that means is the more people that buy it on that day, Amazon tots it all up and says, oh, you're a bestseller. So although it's, some people might want to buy it straight away, if you can wait till the 20th of May, it helps me because the stats kind of go in my favor. If I'm selling lots of copies on the same day, then they sort of promote it a bit more and you can get that bestseller status, which obviously always sounds good on websites and things like that. If you don't like Amazon and you're happy to wait, then it will be available in Waterstones. I don't have the exact date, but it will be available on their website. Alternatively, you can buy a copy from my website and I will sign it for you, wrap it up all nicely and send you a little bookmark. And all you need to do is take a picture, a selfie with your book. Or if you don't want to put yourself in the book, you can just take a picture of the book and use the hashtag #TooKindBookLaunch or #TooKindBookClub if you're using Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Or if you don't use any social media and you just want to say, hey, Zeenat, I bought your book and here it is. Here's me with the book. Just send me the photo. And the email address is tookind@zeenatahmedpeto.com. Now, I'm telling you loads of information and you might think, gosh, there's so many things to remember, but you will receive an email probably tomorrow. And in that email, you'll have all this information. So don't worry about remembering it or writing it down or anything, because you will receive the email tomorrow. For those of you who are comfortable with Zoom and you can copy and paste and take, things that you need, it's all in the chat for you there. Okay. So that's the main things I wanted to say. Now, if you have any questions, you can pop them in the chat box and then Leanne can let me know what any of the questions are. And I will see if Emma Louise has anything else she wanted to ask or to mention if I've forgotten anything.
No, I think you've covered everything, Zeenat. I think, I think everyone's just excited
Yeah, I
to
hope
get it, but
so.
we'll wait. Hopefully,
I hope so.
I think, I'm sure lots of people will wait until the 20th so we can kind of boost, just sort of boost your
absolutely.
stats that way, because it is really helpful, isn't it, for authors when
It
you
is.
have that like bestseller.
It is. Exactly. It is.
Badge.
And I think, just to say something else about the book is that when you get your hands on the book, you'll see that every chapter has at least one exercise. So some chapters have more than one exercise, depending on what the topic is of that book, of that chapter. And it is kind of linear. You don't have to read it in order, but I did write it in a linear fashion. It does sort of build up from one chapter to the next. And that's why when we do the book club, I've already got 2 people coming to the book club, Leanne and Emma at the moment. So we'll be going through the chapters and going through the exercises, and then we can, you know, do the exercises ourselves, or we can do them together, and then we can talk about them and so on. So that's what I wanted to mention there. And I can see there are a couple of questions coming through. So Leanne, if you wanted to, actually, I can see them. So let me have a look. The first one here is from Hella. What was the most memorable moment for you when writing the book? That's a really good question. I think the very first day I sat down and I had this plan, and I just said to my husband, I'm just going to tell you something. And he looked at me like, oh no, what's she going to say? And I'm always having like brilliant ideas, you know. And when I told him, he was like, oh, that's amazing, you know. And I think he just thought, gosh, that's a big thing to do when you're already like really busy. But the first day I sat down, I cleared my desk and I sat down and I put some music on, and I listened to the same music every time I wrote. And I only listened to it at that time because it's sort of conditioning. And obviously, because I'm a hypnotherapist, it's a lot about, you know, the kind of conditions in your mind. So I just saved that piece of music just for that. And it was such a lovely feeling to have a blank space and just start writing. So I think that was very memorable. A bit scary, but also memorable. And let's have a look. We've got a question here from Donna. So if we buy from your website for the signed copy, that won't count for your bestseller. Yes, that's true. That is true. But if you buy it from Amazon, I can't sign it for you. So, but what you could do is buy your one from there. And when I see you, Donna, I can give you another one. So Leanne has mentioned that there's a charity that I'm supporting, which is called Read Easy, and I forgot to mention this. It's a really amazing charity, and for about 10 minutes, I really wanted to open a branch in Enfield, and then I realised I really haven't got time for that. And I thought maybe in about 20 years, when I've got time, I could do it then. But in the meantime, I can just support them. So they're an amazing charity where they train up volunteers who want to help adults to improve their literacy skills or learn to read from scratch. And it's something like 2.1 million adults in the UK cannot read or have limited literacy skills, really limited literacy skills. And obviously, as you can imagine, this impacts their life chances, their self-esteem, and their ability to access almost anything. So, and also if we look at the prison population, there's huge amounts of literacy deficit in that sort of place. So this is a great charity. So if you wanted to support anyone on my behalf, I'd be really, really, you know, pleased with that. Oh, Hella, question about the music. So the music is actually, I don't know if you've ever heard of, I can never say it, by I can't say it, but I'm going to type it in here. But it's basically it's a kind of beat where it helps you with your learning. So it's that something like Mozart is really, I think it's Mozart, or is it Bach? Bach. That's really good for helping you to think what and to basically write and think and study. But I'm going to write it in here. I think it's spelled like this. I think it's spelled like that. So please forgive me if it's incorrect, but it was music without any words, you know. So I have another question here from Shofar. Do you agree with the saying, it's cruel to be kind? That's a really good question. And is it possible to forgive people who were unkind throughout your life? Such a brilliant question. I think I'm going to answer the second bit first. I think there are lots of people I've worked with who have suffered cruelty at the hands of another person, whether that was, you know, a parent or a partner or whoever. And, you know, it's not my place to say, ask someone to forgive someone who's been through that sort of thing. But what I would say is when they work on forgiveness, what they're doing is getting that peace and closure that you've mentioned, but it's forgiving themselves for their part in that. Because often people will say, why did I let that happen to me? Why didn't I say something? Why didn't I tell someone? And so on. So they're kind of holding themselves accountable for some of that pain and that difficulty. And it's not really to do with the other person. The other person almost doesn't come into it. It's about letting themselves be free. And with the saying, you know, being cruel to be kind, I mean, I suppose if you're thinking about teaching a child right from wrong, sometimes you have to be a bit harder on them than just if you're just very nice and very kind all the time, they might end up a bit spoilt. So actually being a bit stricter might do them good in the long run. But I don't really resonate with the word cruel. I think you don't have to be cruel. Obviously that's the saying. I don't know if that answered your question. I hope it did. Let's have a look. Were there any mornings from Darshana? Were there any mornings when you struggled to find that motivation, and what did you do about it? That's a brilliant question. So what I did is I get very, very distracted because I'm interested in so many things. So what I did was I set my desk up the night before so that everything was cleared away. There was nothing. I would leave my phone outside of the room because at 6 a.m. nobody's texting me or emailing me or anything. And if they need me, you know, it won't be that urgent. And my child was asleep and my husband was at home. So if there was any problem, they would be able to help me with that. So I knew there were no distractions from my phone, and I would just switch off the internet and just work on a Word document. So that meant I was focused. In terms of my motivation, I just kept remembering what my goal was. I just kept focusing on the goal, and the goal was the coach had said to me, we could get you to write your book in 5 weeks. And that just sounded so impossible. It just sounded crazy that in 6 weeks' time I could have written a book. And I decided to take it a bit slower. And I said, can we go for 8 weeks? And she said, yeah, that's absolutely fine. But her point was that the shorter the time frame, the more quickly I would get it done. And then it wouldn't be dragging on. And I know that for me, if I let something drag on, it becomes a big task. So that was very motivating. And there were some days when I just thought, oh, you know, I just really need to sleep in a bit. And I said, okay, that's fine. I'll just find that time on another day. So I didn't beat myself up. I just let myself, you know, be okay with that. Not too many times. Yes, absolutely. I can't say the word, but it is binaural beats, I think. Yeah. Okay. Random acts of kindness. Yes, I have checked out that site, and I think it's really interesting when you can do random acts of kindness for other people. So I'm just going to see if there are any other questions, and now I can see you all, which is lovely. So hello everyone, it's lovely to see you all. Any other questions that people have, or anything I missed in the chat? Let's have a look.
I think you've answered everything, Zeenat.
I think I've answered everything. Okay.
Yes,
Something just popped up. Brilliant. Okay. Leanne, was there anything that you wanted to mention? Did I talk about everything I was supposed to say?
I think so. I think, yeah, you covered everything.
Brilliant. Oh,
Amazing.
thank you, Hella. Oh, yes. 2 questions. So the inspiration for the book cover. So a long time ago, 12 years ago, I worked with a graphic designer and I got her to design my logo. And my logo is actually that tree, but it's the whole tree. And then 2 years ago, I worked with somebody else and we just modified it slightly and we actually made it half of the tree. So we just slightly changed it. And actually the tree goes onto the back. You can't see it probably because it's sort of faded in the back. But when I was thinking of the covers, I just thought this has been my logo for a long time. And the idea about it is it's like alignment, the tree, the roots go down into the ground. And when you're doing any kind of meditation, you know, we always talk about imagining roots coming down out of our feet and grounding ourselves and having that kind of tall posture and being like a tree, just being flexible. So that I love trees, and that sort of imagery really resonates with me. So I thought, well, I'm already connected with this this artwork, so that's why I chose to use that for the book cover. But thank you. Great question from Hella. And Natasha, where is the book launch? So book launch is actually going to be in Islington. It's on Monday, the 20th of May. I know lots of the people here don't live in London or live far away and things, but there are about 10 tickets left. So if you are interested in coming to the book launch, let me know and we can help you find out how to get your hands on the last few tickets that are available. Brilliant. Anything else? Brilliant. Okay, Natasha, I'll sort you out with that. No problem at all. Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Leanne. Okay, so can I just ask, let me just see if I can have a look at you. Leanne, I wonder whether you could, oh no, don't worry. I just wondered if you could just tell me in the chat if you feel like you would like to write a book one day. Is there anyone here who thinks they'd like to write a book, or they'd love to write a book, but they just think, I don't know where to start. I don't know how to do it. And I know there's lots of authors actually here. There's loads of authors here in this group already. Brilliant. So there's a few people who are saying, yes, they've always wanted to do it. Yeah. Amazing. Oh, wow, Steph, that's cool. And another question for you is, do you resonate with the title Too Kind? Have you ever thought to yourself, I'm too kind, I'm too nice, you know, I've let people you know, take advantage of me and things like that? Because I've heard lots of people say to me, yeah, I really resonated with the title. Brilliant. Okay. And one more question for you. I'm just doing some market research while I've got you here, captive audience. Another question for you, which is, do you resonate with the idea of being sensitive, being a sensitive soul? Because I definitely resonate with that myself. 200%. Gosh, that's a lot. Oh, yes. And an empath. That's another one if you think you're an empath. No, I don't think so. Okay, that's good. Yeah. Yeah, I've always wanted to not be sensitive, but I couldn't help being sensitive. I was just like that, you know. Brilliant. Okay, thank you so much. That's really wonderful to get so much feedback from you all. I hope that was useful. We will be sending out an email hopefully tomorrow, and the recording will be there, and you'll get all the links and all the you know, hashtags and how to buy the book and all of that stuff, and all of that. Emma Louise, you got your hand up.
I have, yeah, my actual hand, not just my Zoom hand.
Yeah, real hand.
In real hand, yeah. I just thought, since we have a few more minutes left, I would just ask you what your favourite part of like this whole process of, you know, sort of writing this book has been, you know, whether it was the writing or now, you know, because I know you're very extroverted and sociable, like, you know, like, is it the promoting that's fun? What's your favorite bit of experience?
Good question. I think my favorite bit, I think, might be tomorrow when I see the actual box of books, because at the moment I've got 2 copies, but one copy has got not for resale on the front. And that's like the promo copy. Yeah. So I'm really excited about seeing a whole box of books. That's what I think is exciting. I found this promotion part really difficult. I found this really hard. And I think for anyone writing a book, I would say to you, you know, anyone who's going to do that in the process or wants to start or was inspired by this conversation, I would say, keep your energy, not just for the writing part, but also for the promotion part, because I would say that for me, that's been more work and more of a learning curve, you know. And I think, you know, if you're not very familiar with social media and all that, just get some help, get someone to help you, because I've tried to do quite a lot of that bit on my own. That's quite hard. Even though I've had loads of amazing cheerleaders, people in this room who've been incredible, like really supportive and wonderful. But I think getting it past your, you know, friends and family and your, you know, very close circle, that's the challenge, is actually getting it out. So, but I think when I see people, you know, in a couple of weeks, I can actually hug them. I think that's going to be really, really special.
Oh,
yeah,
amazing. And are you going to do anything to celebrate just for you, Zeenat? Are you going to, so obviously you're having the launch, this ceremony, and then the sort of live launch, but you're going to do just, you know,
do you know, I
give
haven't got
yourself a
that
little
far.
treat.
I haven't got that far yet. You know, talk to me on the 20th, and then
I'll hold
let
you
know.
accountable in a few months when everything's settled down.
Yeah.
I think there was another question.
Oh yes,
I just saw pop up.
Yeah, we've got a few, Zeenat, actually.
Okay, brilliant.
So we had a question. Sorry, it's on an email, so I can't see the name.
Okay.
I associate being sensitive with caring, but that's just my association.
Yeah.
I suppose it depends on the meaning that people add to the word sensitive. So if you have any comments on that? Yes,
I do. When I chose the word sensitive, I was really thinking about, you know, someone who feels things deeply and is kind of empathic and like feels for other people and things like that. But I know there's the whole meaning of highly sensitive. You know, now we talk about highly sensitive people, and often that's to do with a sort of sensory version of it as well. So not just your emotions, but also, you know, and I can be like that. I get overwhelmed if I go to a really loud shopping center and it's very noisy and there's a lot of people and it's very hot. And I'm just thinking, where's the door? How do I get out? Even though I love shopping, I love shops, but sometimes it's just too much, you know. So I do have that side to me as well. But I think, you know, all of these words, it's all semantics, isn't it? You know, we would read a word a different way to somebody else. But I suppose you take from it whatever the meaning is to you, and hopefully there'll be enough in there to for people to connect with. I hope I answered the question.
We also had Rajal says, fantastic achievement, Zeenat, inspirational. What's the next book title?
Thank you, Rajal. That's so kind of you to say that. Actually, interestingly enough, after I'd finished and we started sort of talking about it amongst friends, I did think there is probably another book, but it's probably going to be much deeper. I would say this is more of a starter book for me and for the people reading it. So it's not for therapists or anybody who really knows a lot about this field. It's for the layperson. So from that context, it's a kind of you know, like an entry level book, but maybe the next one might be a sort of deeper, more therapeutic book, which might be more for my peers, possibly one day.
And I think we have one more, another one from Jofa. She says, last question, sometimes female authors can also be a target of negativity, such as trolling. Have you a mechanism in place to get through that? Hoping it won't happen, obviously.
Yeah. No. I don't have a mechanism, but thank you for bringing that up, because that's very, very important. But I would say that I do have a massive group of incredibly empowering women around me, and they're absolutely amazing. And I think between us, we would be able to take that troll down pretty quickly. In the kindest possible way. Brilliant. Okay, so I think we've come to 9 o'clock. Thank you ever so much, everybody. I really appreciate it. It's so lovely to see all your faces and see all your names. And I really, really look forward to connecting with you more and talking to you and answering any more questions. You can just drop me an email and I will answer those questions for you. So thank you so much and have a lovely evening.